Welcome to Stepping on the Mat podcast, episode 008 with me, Aaron Martinez. Today's guest is a three-time USA Wrestling Girls Folk Style runner-up. She is a Fargo All-American in freestyle. In college, she wrestled at Midland University and earned NAIA All-American status. She is currently the Norwalk High School girls head wrestling coach. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest, Alanah Vetterick. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited.
I know I act like this was like the first introduction. Like we've been talking for like an hour already about girls wrestling, and you've been educating me on it. And man, what a blessing from the time I started this podcast. You know, we had Coach Roland on, and and he's the head high school wrestling coach over at Ankeny. And I was asking him just already down the channel, like, hey, how can I help you accelerate what's going on in the ladies community with wrestling? And who can I talk to? So your name was one of the names that was mentioned. Like I said, I plan to have you on the podcast, but I'm glad I have you today. So we can talk about some things you probably got going on tomorrow. Maybe that might be awesome to talk about as well.
Oh yeah. Super excited for that one too.
Yeah.
Ooh,
I hope you guys have a great turnout. So tell me, just how's life been? Last time I seen you, you were working, and then next thing I know, you got the head position at Norwalk. So tell me how life has been.
Yeah, life has been crazy. So, at home, I have a 12-month-old, Rylan. Oh, biggest blessing ever. It's the best thing ever.
And he's 1 now, right?
Yeah. Yep. 12 months old, 1. And, and then my partner, Brian, and I, we're figuring out how to be parents together. And I feel like we're finally starting to get in our groove and get it down, We're just like, okay, we can do this parenting thing.
Do you guys take like, do the duties? Like I'm going to do the diapers between this time or do the feeding at this time?
And we kind of just go back and forth for whatever. It all depends. Right now we're getting into like a good groove of like working out, so it's like we're on a good workout schedule. It's like I go at this time and then he goes at this time, and then
now did Brian wrestle too, right?
He did.
Yeah, because he was sitting next to me at when we were at the Norwalk tournament or the Norwalk match. I noticed he had some cauliflower ears, so I was like, because I don't know him that well.
Yeah,
so I was gonna ask.
Yep, he wrestled at North.
Oh, okay.
And what year was it? He won state 1 year, and then he went on to wrestle at Grandview too.
Excellent. So alumni. I'm Grandview.
Yeah.
Alumni. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, so you guys have wrestling matches in the middle of the house, or do you guys got mats in the living room?
We don't, but I
totally would. I would be like,
we have a lot of discussion. Which I'm super grateful for, is that I do have a partner that is just as much invested into wrestling as I am. So our conversations and we're very honest with each other. So sometimes we'll butt heads, but I love being able to see not only my view of something, but his view as well, and putting it together to help make our program better and help make me a better coach. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's a blessing right there. I still think you guys should get mats in the living room. Just some like puzzle piece mats. It can be decorated nice. Yeah. Can I have like the little, the carpet ones?
Yeah.
It looks like it's a carpet, but it's not. I'll do that.
Yeah. They got ones that look like wooden floors and everything. They're pretty easy to blend in. I know that's what I got in that room over there.
He's gonna watch this, and then he's gonna be like, "You said we could."
Yep. He's like, I heard you. You said it. So life as a mother right now, like I know that's all being a parent is a fun, exciting, and yet scary experience. Like I remember as a dad always like listening, like going on and listening real quick. Are they breathing? Just like but you tend to relax, and that connection grows. The bond between you and your child grows a lot stronger as the days go on. So like, what's it like being a new mother?
It's the best thing ever. I was a lot of the times I just sit back and I look from like where I was only a few years ago to like where I am now, and I'm the happiest I've ever been in my whole entire life. My child is everything to me. My family is everything to me. And, just being a mom is great. I love watching him grow. Yes, everybody's just like, time's a thief. And I'm like, but I love watching him develop into the person he's going to become.
Yeah.
And watching him do new things too. Like, we're doing sign language. So for him to be able to like tell me that he wants milk or he wants food, it's awesome that we're able to start to communicate with each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's a good looking kid.
Oh, thank you.
He is. He's super cute. Like he could be a model. He could be a Gerber model or something, you know?
That's what Brian said too.
Yeah. Like Brian's got good taste. So yeah. So life as a mother, you know, like the majority of the guests so far have been men, right? I've had 2 this year, the second female I've had.
Yeah.
And hopefully I get a third one here pretty soon. All the guys on there always mention their mother, you know, and having this like strong connection to mom. And I can already, you know, you can probably already start feeling that development between you and Rylan already, you know. So imagine these guys as they get older, you know, that bond and that connection to your mom is something very valuable and special. Are you starting to feel those connections? I mean, I'm sure they say that, you know, you can feel it in the womb and all that stuff too, but.
Oh yeah. I mean, I feel like Rylan and I are super close. I'm lucky enough that I'm able to stay at home with him. I'm very blessed that I'm able to do that. And then Brian actually works from home too. So I think I'm very grateful that I'm able to spend as much time as I can with Rylan and us 3 as a family.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Did that happen with Brian because of the COVID thing and got transitioned back home, or is that's just part of his business is being at home?
It happened with COVID. So as soon as COVID started, he started working from home, and there wasn't a need for him to go back into the office. And he says that he can't imagine not working from home anymore.
See, everybody was so upset and angry, and relationships got disrupted, but like there's some really nice things that came out of it, you know, that, you know, families that are especially starting, you know, what a blessing and opportunity to be able to be at home and help each other. Like you said, you're helping each other grow in wrestling, but you're also co-parenting like on a pretty high rate.
Yeah, that's what I love. Like, Rylan is so funny. Whenever he sees Brian and I together, he'll always smile. So that's one thing that's big for me, is that I want him to see Brian and I together as one unit.
Yeah.
And watch him. Like, I want to show him what a healthy relationship is with your spouse. You know, I see a bigger picture than just like right now. It's like, how do Brian and I love each other? How do you treat your spouse?
Yeah.
And stuff. It's I think way deeper, just because I want to create a good young man that someday when he does find a wife, to treat her well too. So
yeah, and the more we have successful families, the more our environment gets impacted by that, right? So tell me now that you know, how did that come about that you got offered the position, or, you know, how did that go? And then boom, you're into being the head wrestling coach.
Yeah. So what was it? It was a couple years ago. I moved back home, and not a couple years ago. It was more than a couple years ago. I guess I kind of forget that. So I moved back home, and I was working.
'Cause you were in Omaha, right?
Fremont, Nebraska. That's where Midland's at. So I moved back home, started working, started going to school, and then a year goes by or so, and you know, they're like, hey, we're gonna start up the youth club and have the girls youth club, wrestling club here in Norwalk. And asked me to coach it, and I'm like, of course.
And how many girls did you have out that first year? Because was there already a program established, or was like the initial, like, hey, we're going to start a youth club for the girls and you're in?
Yep, this was the initial one. Cool. So
cool.
Yeah. How many girls did we have? I think it was like, it would depend on week to week, of course.
Sure.
But I think at the most we had about 40 girls in the room at one time.
That's a lot bigger than what I thought you were going to say. They're going to say like 11.
Yeah. No, we had a great turnout, and we kept with it, and obviously now Schmitz runs it. So But as I was doing that, when word was going around with, hey, they're going to sanction Iowa girls wrestling and stuff like that, they were like, would you want to be a coach? And at the time I was pregnant, and I was like, I can't commit to anything until I have my baby. And, this is also a discussion with my partner, or if I'm able to do this when we do have a brand new baby.
That's a commitment.
Yeah, it's a big commitment.
It is.
And I didn't. It's
an exciting one, but there's, it is a long,
yeah,
it's a lot of time and energy.
And I didn't want to commit and like be halfway in. Sure. I wanted it to be 100% in. It was.
Well, that's who you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There's no halfway.
You could have the girls' wrestling shirt. I mean, you could have one that says all in too.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
There you go. Boom.
Hey.
Print it.
Yeah, that's gonna be our what?
I'm with it.
That's gonna be our next year. We said the beginning last year. This year it's gonna be all in.
All in.
Wow. Hey,
that's how it happens. That's already 2 things that's happened today.
I like that.
We're killing it. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't like a selection process for anybody else. They were like, this is our lady.
Actually, I did have to go in an interview. So the ones talking about it, Schmitz and Brown, they were just like, hey, like, would you be interested in doing this? Like, is this something you want to do? So I told them, I'm like, I have to wait until I have the baby. I had the baby. Brown sent me a text, hey.
Yeah, like the next day, he's like, hey, congratulations. Can you sign this right?
He was like, hey, so like, I know like you just had him, like, but are you thinking about it? And I'm just
that actually sounded like Brown a little bit. Actually sounded like you're imitating him. That's awesome.
Are you thinking about it? I'm like, again, Brian and I, we've continued to have conversations about it throughout since that time I was asked. And he's very supportive of me. And he was like, this is what you want to do. So do it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
And so I was
what a blessing
on board. And 3 months after I had Rylan, that's when they hired me. Yeah. Mm-hmm. After my interview, I think they interviewed someone else too. But yeah.
So you got the job. Everything's good. Who's the assistant coach? Is there an assistant coach? Yeah. So I have an assistant / like middle school coach, Austin Periangeli. He's a Norwalk alum as well. So he helps me out. And then I also have Chelsea Sinwell. Actually, her maiden name is Herkelman. Don't know if you know that name in the girls wrestling world. I don't know that name.
Cassie Herkelman. It's her sister. Cassie Herkelman.
I know Cat. Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
So luckily enough, she moved here to Norwalk, and I was able to. She comes in and she volunteers her time to the girls, and it's nice to get someone else in the room that knows girls wrestling. Yeah. So.
Okay, so got the job, got the assistant coach. What's the game plan for your first season out? What was your game plan?
Yeah, my first season. I had no idea what I was getting into.
I was thinking about that myself. I was like, I mean, obviously I've started schools in different places and had to start over from scratch with people, but like. It's a little bit different. You guys have a season or have you schedule. And, I was thinking in my mind that was one of the questions I wanted to ask you. Like, what was your game plan that first season?
So I had no idea. Of course, I'm young. I'm 23. I haven't been an assistant coach anywhere. Sure. I've never been a coach on a high school coaching staff, and let alone for a brand new sport. So we had to put together our schedule. We basically had like this master Excel sheet, and you just pick where you want to go and email is sent. Hey, can we come here? Sure. Okay, cool. Put it on the schedule. And it was creating a schedule. It was, okay, now that I created the schedule, I need to order uniforms. How do I go about ordering uniforms? Just all of that. And
how do the girls feel about the singlets?
So that was one of the things. At first, the girls were just like, well, we don't want to wear a singlet. Okay.
What did they want to wear?
They wanted to wear the 2-piece.
Like the board shorts, like a rash guard.
Yeah, rash guard and the shorts. So I was like, okay, you know what? If a singlet's what holding you back, I don't want that to be the thing that holds you back from coming out for wrestling. We got shorts and shirts for the girls to wear, and we have singlets for the girls to wear too. So actually, a lot of them that said that they didn't want to wear a singlet, they wear the singlet. I'm just like,
of course.
Yeah. I'm like, it's okay. You guys, whatever.
I mean, you got to think about it though. Like they're not, it's like the same with little kids when they're wrestling. I'm like, when I see parents lose it on their kids, I'm like, you know, he's like going out there half naked. You know what I mean? They're not like
very vulnerable.
Yeah, it's super vulnerable, you know? And just
especially with girls that are just starting a brand new sport in high school. You know, high school is a very sensitive time for you as an adolescent. So I don't blame them whatsoever.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Yeah.
I always thought that would be like the first conversation that would be having is like girls sanctioned wrestling. What's the uniform? Mm-hmm. You know, because I don't even know if it's like great for guys, but like it's been that uniform for a long time. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah.
So you got uniforms.
Yep.
They look good.
Yeah.
How did you start? How many people did you have on your roster?
Between high school and middle school, we started out with about 30 girls.
30 girls. And what are you guys using the downstairs, the youth room, the wrestling room, or were you guys in the high school room, the new room?
So we would switch. So I told Gravy and them, I said, hey, you guys can have the upstairs room right after school because I don't only want to grow girls wrestling. I want to grow wrestling in Norwalk in general.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you know those morning practices are hard for some kids to get to, you guys can have the space to do the after school up there and we'll go later. So we go after the boys practice.
So what time is your start time?
5:45.
Cool. That's around my start time too for my classes.
Yeah.
I like it. I think people have a little bit of time to download from the day, whether it be work or school, you know, type thing.
Well, and also my girls, they can, you know, if you have to go see a teacher after school, you can go see a teacher after school.
Yeah. Or do some homework.
Yeah. So it's like, hey, if you got to stay here and study until practice, perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got to get some homework done. No excuse for, I have to go to wrestling practice or I'm not able to come to wrestling practice because I have to go be with my teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. There's no conflict there.
No, it works.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that works out with the schedule with the boys.
Mm-hmm.
So 30 people on there. When did you develop your starting roster?
So before I came in, Brown was doing a lot of work for it. A lot of work. I mean, Brown went to the school board, presented to the school board, like, you know, like, can we get girls wrestling team approved here?
Sure.
And he got a sheet and basically had girls sign up like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And then after that, he would have open rooms and then girls would show up to those open rooms. So this definitely wouldn't have been possible without that behind the scenes, what Brown has been doing and still is doing. Yeah.
Good looking, Coach Brown. Good looking.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have been able to like get half of my stuff through the season if it wasn't for Brown because I had no idea how to work track.
Right.
I had no idea how to put my roster in. I'm just like brand spanking nail. I mean, I imagine that there's a lot of other coaches out there too that, you know, they stepped up to this plate and I know some of them didn't even know anything about wrestling.
Sure.
So luckily enough, or I do know about wrestling, it's just all of like the administrative side that I didn't know what I was really getting into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad he was there to be able to support that. And he's good like that anyways. You know, that's what he does.
Oh.
So I'm glad he could help you out with that and get you rolling.
Mm-hmm.
So you got your roster, your starting roster. Tell me about the season. Like how did the season go?
This season, it was good. It was good. You know, I had to take a second to reflect over the season, you know, kind of take some time, be like, all right, let's look at the positives that came out of this. Mm-hmm. And I saw so much transformation in some of these girls. And like, my biggest thing is that I'm not just trying to make wrestlers. I'm trying to make better women and for them to be productive people in society, productive people in the classroom. So to be able to like watch that, and it's just like little things too that you notice, I'm so happy.
Yeah, and they can recognize it too, I'm sure, in themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that you feel better as a person when you actually buy in. You're just like, wait, there's a bigger picture than just wrestling here.
Right. And during these transformations, like which and I know that we don't ever like to mention specific people's, like to single them out, but like I'm asking today is like, through those transformations, who in your mind and who perform like with performances was your standout wrestlers?
So one story that I love.
That's what we're here to do. Tell stories.
One story that I love is one girl on my team, Madeline Carroll. Her mom doesn't let her have her phone through the night. I understand. And she said, well, I said, did you eat anything when practice? Because she said she didn't feel good. And she said, no, I didn't wake up on time. And I'm like, okay, why? She said, well, I don't have my phone. And I'm like, all right, get an alarm clock.
Right.
Wake yourself up.
Yeah.
Take accountability.
What is an alarm clock?
Yeah, I know. So then she went home and she asked her mom to get her an alarm clock. She got an alarm clock. Problem solved.
Yeah.
It's just teaching them, like, don't make an excuse. Take accountability for your own self.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We see that with a lot of things. Young people are just that way in general. I think they're just like, the whole, like, I couldn't have my phone. Well, what was your plan to wake yourself up in the morning? Right?
Yeah. I am so like stunned by how many people have their parents wake them up. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, it's cool about life lessons is that like once you get them, you always tend to pass them off to somebody else. So I'm sure that she'll use that somewhere along her journey, in this wrestling journey. She'll share it with somebody else on our team.
I hope
about making excuses.
Yeah, I hope.
Any other moments that stand out for you during the season, or wrestlers did specific win many matches that were like highlight moments for you?
Yeah. So, one of my girls, Katie Lidke, we were in Colfax, Mingo, and she was wrestling a girl that she lost earlier in the season, and she was down 4-0, and there was probably about 30 seconds left in the match. She threw a headlock, beat her, and we were pumped.
I bet it was on fire.
Oh, I was so pumped because I preach to my girls, never stop wrestling. Never give up. There's always a chance. Always a chance. And right there, like right at that moment when she didn't hang her head and was like, there's 30 seconds left, I'm gonna lose.
Yeah.
No, she fought. And right there, like I'm like, ooh, gives me goosebumps. It feels good to be able to see that the girls are doing what I'm preaching.
That's awesome. I love results, man. So state wrestling tournament. This year is the first time it was sanctioned. Tell me about how you feel about that.
Oh, I think it's awesome. I'm so excited for the girls, and especially for those that are going to be able to someday say, hey, I'm a 4-time Iowa Girl State champ.
Yeah.
Or it's like, I won Iowa Girl State wrestling.
Do you know how many freshman girls won state this year?
I don't.
Besides Skylar Slade. Big shout out Skylar Slade.
Yeah, I know. Katie Biscaglia won.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure too. Not sure from there. Just because Biscaglia, she has a brother that's the same age as me. So I followed her, and then I can't think about anyone else.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's super exciting.
They're on their way.
I know.
Record setters. So yeah, that's like I think there was I read an article that said they had a transition of like from one year to the next, like 1,300 new wrestlers or something like that.
Yeah. Did you see?
A little over that, somewhere around there.
it was huge. Our growth was huge. Flo came out with how much our numbers increased from last year to this year, and I think our numbers were pretty high.
Yeah.
One of the highest for Iowa. Like Iowa itself had one of the highest numbers for all across the United States.
Yeah.
And
so we're trend setting right now.
It's great.
We got the roll. We're at the tip of the spearhead.
Hey, we're known as a wrestling state. Why not be known for
the girl wrestling state? Yeah. For sure.
Because that's California, that's Texas.
Now I mentioned
Iowa.
I mentioned the number of like the increase in participants for women's wrestling, girls wrestling in Iowa, and but maybe we just didn't know because we didn't do a poll on it the year before, because you mentioned that this has been around for a while. Even though we just sanctioned the girls state wrestling tournament, girls wrestling just didn't wake up. I mean, they've already been awake. It's just been recognized and like sanctioned. It's been like solidified, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this has been going on for a while. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about the history of women's wrestling.
Yeah, we go back so far. It goes back so far. And, not even just with me, but there's others too. Mm-hmm. So when I first started, our first Iowa Girls State Wrestling Tournament was held by USGWA. So United States Girls Wrestling Association. And we had it in Upper Iowa somewhere. Can't quite remember. I was 9 years old. And
you competed in that tournament?
I did. We had it in a tiny little gym, and our concession stand was out of like 2 coolers. Mm-hmm. And it was just like girls showed up, you throw together a bracket, go wrestle, that was it. There wasn't anything like the lights or like getting a big bracket.
So this was like considered like the state tournament.
Yeah.
Of that time.
Yep, it was. So there was a few girls that I can remember as the Davies. The Davies are the ones that told us about it. There was two of them, and then Rachel Waters was with us. I'm trying to think who else was there. April Ritz. Mm-hmm. I can't quite remember who else was there. But we showed up to that, and my mom was like, wait a second. Like, why do the boys get to go to Wells Fargo Arena for their state? Because we had AAU state. Right. But then these girls are thrown into this little gym with nothing. So.
And where's it at now?
For
the real state wrestling tournament for the girls.
It's at the Extreme Arena.
Yeah, that's pretty satisfactory.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be better to be here, but just because but that seemed, I mean, the whole performance, the whole show, and the finals, everything looked pretty legit. Looked better than the guys' actually.
I know. I thought so too. Yeah. The smoke.
Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. Yeah. And I thought the signature on the bracket was a pretty cool touch because that's personal.
Yeah, to add something to it. So then the next year, I actually wrestled in the North Youth Wrestling Club, and with the help of the youth wrestling program and the high school coach, we were able to host Iowa Girls State Tournament here at North. Mm-hmm. So we went from being in a little gym with maybe 30 girls to then bringing it to North and hitting like 100. Right.
And back then you wrestled at high altitude?
No.
Who did you wrestle for back then when you were a kid?
When I was young, I started with Purcell's.
Purcell. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Anthony.
All right, Anthony. This is twice you've been mentioned on the show. It's time for you to be a guest.
Yeah. So at first, I guess we can dive back.
Anthony's daughter wrestles.
Yeah, Bella.
She's over at Southeast Polk, correct?
Mm-hmm. So I guess we can go all the way back to when I started wrestling then too.
Yeah, let's go.
So my brother was at a summer camp with Anthony, and I was there with my mom, and we're about ready to pick up my brother, and apparently I asked my mom, like, can I wrestle? Yeah. And my mom's like, can you? So then we asked Anthony, and Anthony was, of course, took me in with open arms, and from then I just hit the ground running.
Anthony's the OG.
Yeah. So, and then I went to Anthony, and then I got plugged into North too. So I went to the North Youth Club. And I did that until about 7th grade. And then that's when I moved to Norwalk.
She moved to Norwalk, but she is a native of the south side of Des Moines, like your boy over here.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, to the same middle school. We're both Weeks Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
Go Wildcats.
Yeah. So, yeah, I grew up over there, wrestled over there, and we did all that. Then I moved to Norwalk, and when I moved to Norwalk, I switched wrestling clubs, and I started going to high altitude. And I also stayed with our youth wrestling program. Mm-hmm. And our youth club is phenomenal.
Yeah, you were
too.
So just to for people that don't know, is like you were wrestling with boys at this time. It wasn't girls alone by themselves in tournaments or competitions. So you were training, practicing, and competing against boys.
That's correct. It would be very rare for me to go to a weekend tournament and there to be another girl there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was that like? What was that just like? Because it's kind of like pioneering, you know what I'm saying? Like you're going into territory that's not like where you're the minority. Mm-hmm. What did that feel like for you?
It was, when I was younger, I didn't really like look at it differently. But then all of a sudden, when I started winning matches, there started to be a lot of eyes on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of eyes. And then you're just like, oh, wait, like I'm going out here and I'm not just representing myself, but I'm representing girls wrestling. And I had something to prove. Yeah. I'm like, I need to prove.
Do you remember your first win against a boy?
Yes.
How old were you?
It was my first tournament.
Your first tournament? Nice.
It was at the Norwalk Wrestling Tournament, and it was my first match. I got beat really bad, but then my second match, I actually pinned the kid, and I jumped up, and I was so excited. I ran in my mom's arms and gave her a big hug, and
yeah. I can tell you historically, when there would be a girl at a tournament, it'd be like from the guys version, it's always like, oh, I don't want to get stuck with the girl. I'm screwed either way.
Yeah.
Right? If I beat her, then I'm the guy that beat up the girl. Mm-hmm. If I lose, well, I'm the guy that lost to the girl. And I think, obviously I'm way older, but like times have changed, right? So now it has become more of it was more of an accepted thing as you started growing up. There was, like you said, you'd be surprised if there'd be another girl there.
Yeah.
When did you start seeing other girls?
I think it was really after when we hosted the Iowa Girls State Tournament North, because we had flyers. Of course, flyers. There wasn't like Facebook and all that stuff.
I remember the flyers. That's how I got into wrestling. That's how I got this little medal over here.
Yeah. So we had flyers, and any girl we saw, it was either like, if you were just a sister that was running around at a wrestling tournament, hey, you want to come try this?
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So we were putting flyers out there. We were recruiting. We were trying to start a
revolution.
Yeah. My mom and I were just like, let's do this. Like, let's get other girls. And when I was younger, I remember going to a weekend tournament and then seeing Cassie Herkelman there. Mm-hmm. And then when I started to, Rachel Waters started. Mm-hmm. So we would run into each other at these tournaments. But of course, we live out an hour to a couple hours away from each other. So really central, there wasn't very many. But then as soon as you kind of start going to the other places, that's when I ran into the other girls. So, yeah, we had them come, and we also went up to Michigan for nationals, and there was so many girls there. We were just like, whoa.
That's crazy.
Like, girls wrestling is actually a thing, because that was our national tournament. Girls came from everywhere to go wrestle at that. So that was like really eye-opening. Mm-hmm. And then, after that, we continued to do like the state tournament. And it wasn't until I was in 8th grade is when I went to like my first national tournament. That was through USA Wrestling. Mm-hmm. I went to Oklahoma and I went to their folk style nationals.
Yeah.
So.
And you was a runner-up three times in a row.
Yep, I was a runner-up 3 times in a row. Couldn't quite finish it.
Hey, I ain't mad at you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a pretty great accomplishment.
Yeah.
And then you were at Fargo as well.
I did. I went to Fargo 1 year, and I All-Americaned there too.
So when you were going to these bigger national tournaments, like you were obviously meeting more and more female athletes.
Yeah.
Did you make any connections with any of those ladies out there that you still stay in contact with?
Yes. That's what the great thing was. And it was different for, like my brother to see, is that when we went to these big tournaments, we were friends with these girls off the mat because this was one place where we all got together and we could all relate with each other.
Yeah.
You're just like, hey, you're like me and I'm like you and let's be friends.
Yeah.
So you don't feel so alone. That's your community right there. I mean, I had a very supportive community around me, but to have someone like in the exact same spot as you is completely different than having someone, that hasn't quite been there. So, yeah, I mean, like even to this day, Rana Gross now, her maiden name is Heaton. I still talk to her. She's ready to have a baby. We'll run into each other at tournaments and everybody gives each other hugs.
If she has a boy, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We can get a little wrestling match set up.
Yep. So, making little wrestling families.
Yeah. Riley got a year on them, but that ain't going to matter when they get to high school. So yeah, let's go. I didn't mean to tear us off into this other direction, but I wanted to kind of pull back and look at we had talked before we went live here about like kind of the historical part of wrestling and just where girls wrestling is at. Yeah.
So, my mom put that together and she really wanted to do something special for the girls. She, we got someone come in and do shirts and we made the brackets and we did, like the grand march. We did a grand march and she had at the time, Waldorf, they came down and they did like a clinic before it started.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool little addition. I mean, honestly, that's like how jiu-jitsu tournaments are. Oftentimes there's like the tournament, but they'll have like a session either before or after. It's a seminar.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they had the Waldorf coach and a few of the college girls came down and they put on a clinic before and it was super cool. Like she really tried to make it special for the girls instead of us just being thrown off to the side.
Yeah.
Into a gym. So I feel like that's where like we kind of started to really make some change here. Here in Iowa when we were just like, you know what, let's do more.
Yeah. And with the growth of girls wrestling, I kind of spit out a number there. Hopefully it's close to what is accurate. What do you see for the future of women's wrestling here, especially here in Iowa? Let's start with Iowa and then we'll get big picture.
Yeah, it's going to be a normal. Some people, they look at you like, oh, you're a wrestler. For a girl, you kind of get taken back for a second. I want it to be the new norm. It's just like girls wrestle too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think I don't really see the two difference. I train with female athletes and male athletes.
Yeah. But
they're
like
just jiu-jitsu players, they're just wrestlers to me. Like you're a wrestler to me. I don't have to put the girl on it, but
well, no, I completely agree with that as well. But so many times, I mean, even I have a tattoo on my shoulder that says Iowa Girls Wrestling, and some older gentleman came up to me and he said, "So are you the wrestler?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, I wrestled." So, things like that. Like, I don't want it to be a question like, why can't she wrestle? Like, if it says I was wrestling on my back, I wrestled.
Yeah, I do it. That's me. So, future of Iowa wrestling, what would some things you'd like to see happen that would be to make it bigger or better or get more participants? I know that you're doing this, you're doing a camp tomorrow.
Yeah, we're having.
You want to tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, I asked one of my friends, I saw that she got the assistant coaching job at Simpson for the women's wrestling team. Emma Cochran. We're talking about
Emma Cochran,
yeah, Emma Cochran. And I hit her up and I'm like, hey, can you come do a camp for my girls here in anywhere, And our biggest thing is that we're able to make it free.
That is cool.
Yeah.
That's great.
I don't want that money factor to stop the growth of girls wrestling. So thankfully I'm having her come, and any girl that shows up is able to do a camp with her for free.
And you take walk-ins?
Yeah.
Correct? So
I take
tomorrow,
walk-ins.
right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow 9? Is it 9 a.m.?
9 a.m.
Anything else you want to discuss about the past, the old times of wrestling before girls got sanctioned?
Yeah.
Any shout outs or anything like you want to give to anybody?
Well, yeah. I mean, so after North, I moved here to Norwalk, and Norwalk was gracious and very supportive of me, and we helped host the few Iowa girls state wrestling tournament here in Norwalk a couple years. So, everywhere I went, I'm very grateful and very blessed that I did have, people behind me. I had a family that helped grow and support me, and not even just me, but Iowa girls wrestling.
Right.
Especially here in the center of Iowa too. So, going from that, I'm super, I can't even explain how grateful I am that I have had that support.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that, because I wanted to ask you, what are your other, you're the head coach. You got that. You're a mom. That's keeping you, you're a wife. Yeah. That's keeping you busy, right? But what other involvements do you have in the wrestling community? Are you coaching off season now with any teams, or helping? Are you doing any camps? Are you training? Are you doing anything? Do you have any other involvements besides just being the head coach? With girls wrestling.
So right now we've been having open rooms here in Norwalk, and my partner Brian and I, we do that together. Well, he ran it, and I was there because obviously I can't have contact with the high schoolers, but I was able to help with the middle schoolers. And we welcomed any girls to that too. You didn't have to be whatever age.
Sure.
Come. We're open up in the room for free.
Heck yeah.
If you want to come, you can come. Actually, and then I am going to be helping out at Fargo Camp.
There we go.
In July. Yeah.
So it starts up in July, getting the kids ready that have qualified to have so you're basically helping run their practices.
Yeah, I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be another person that can help those girls get some.
Cool. Are you getting some too? Are you getting physical again? Are you wrestling around yet?
I did wrestle with the girls a little bit back then. It's really hard because starting brand new, I had brand new girls.
Sure.
And I had brand new to sports, not even just wrestling, but sports in general. So I had to walk around and do a lot of one-on-one. This hand goes here, this hand goes here, this knee goes here. Yeah. And I would always make my round and make sure I stopped at every single girl. So it was hard for me to kind of be able to go and
get sweaty.
Yeah.
It's tough with kids that are new to something, because you got part of the group over here that's going to excel. You show them something once and they're kind of ready to kind of take off with it and play with it. And then the other kids are just you're move your left hand, and they move their right hand,
yes.
So that's tough to get the room moving in a nice flow, or where you can feel like you can cut it loose enough to where you can get some training in with them.
Oh, I made the girls hand fight with me though, because I'm listen, I don't know if you guys are quite understanding this, but what we did is that we got in a circle, and we each had our own circles, and we just rotate. I rotate everyone, so at least they hit me once.
So now they know.
I'm just hey, when you do a club, this is what a club is supposed to feel like.
Yeah, it's a 9-iron. It's supposed to feel like a 9-iron.
Or I would have them line up, and I would do the move on them.
Right.
I would just go one person, so they would understand how it's supposed to feel.
Yeah, how it's supposed to feel. That's a a big coaching tip is like, you can tell them, you can continue to show them. Some people will get really lost when you're trying to show them something complicated that has a lot of like individual sections to it. But if you can make them feel it, then they clicks a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm sure these girls are looking up to you. They're like, this is our lady right here, right?
I hope they are.
Oh, they are. Otherwise you wouldn't even got mentioned for it.
Yeah.
Who have you looked up to? Like growing up as a kid, like who did you follow? Who was a mentor for you? Who inspired you?
Yeah, my mom.
Okay.
My mom, she's awesome. So my mom, she's actually the chief of the Norwalk Fire Department.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So she joined into this male dominant workforce as a firefighter, paramedic, and to be able to see her, go through that. Mm-hmm. And, really it's not very common for, well, now it's starting to become
especially being chief,
more common.
That's the position to have, right?
Yeah. So just like seeing her leadership, seeing her hard work, and yeah, my mom is awesome. She's very wise too. She's helped me a lot through this season as to learn how to be a leader of a team.
Right.
And then also another one.
Because it's not easy.
No.
I can tell you being retiring from the military and leading different teams, like there's so many different type of personalities and perspectives, and you got that one person in the group. Yeah. It's like complicated, and you got this one that's like ready to go. It's just like, it's really big. So I'm glad your mom is educating you and giving you some wisdom on leadership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, and not even just with that. She was my biggest supporter starting wrestling, One thing I always remember is that she would go to our wrestling practices. She would sit there, watch our wrestling practices, and then after we would go home and we had a mat, and we would practice the moves, or we would go on YouTube and we would practice those moves together. So yeah, we went through all of it, and she didn't know anything about wrestling either. We went to our first tournament, and we had another.
I bet she knows now.
Oh yes, she does.
She knows now.
Yeah. So she's been with it through thick and thin, very beginning, all of it. Another person that I would like to mention is Jessica Flippis.
Okay.
So I went to the Missouri Valley camp.
Can you tell us a little bit who she is?
Yeah, Jessica. What all has she done? So she's from California, and she went to Mo Valley, wrestled at Missouri Valley, and then she moved to Iowa, and she was in Glenwood area. Mm-hmm. And I actually met her at the Missouri Valley Girls Wrestling Camp. Okay. And then I ran back into her at, it was after Night of Conflict. It was Conflict at Carver, that tournament. And I ran into her there again. And I was at a time in my life where, I was, what age was I? 7th grade or so. And, you're you're starting to go through some things and mentally and stuff like that. And she was like one person that was able to really help me work through that. And not like mentally, she helped me so much. And then like getting me into the girls like wrestling scene too, a little bit further, like talking about freestyle. Yeah. Freestyle wasn't really a big thing for us, so then it was like freestyle, and then
I know, like when did that, like I wrestled freestyle when I was in high school. Yeah I made sure I wrestled freestyle. I loved it. I loved freestyle because I didn't have to worry about the weight cut so much, and it was just chill, and it wasn't all the time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it seems like the freestyle scene, the Greco scene, is like really blowing up. It
has. I remember at North, we had a little bit of freestyle. Major, and then he came in and he did some over the summer when I was younger. And I guess we weren't quite aware. I mean, I did soccer after wrestling season.
I played soccer as well.
Yeah. I midfield. ran the whole time.
My daughter plays soccer. Yeah, maybe you guys can link up and get her in there wrestling or something.
Yeah.
She's tough. She's a tough girl.
Hey, she wants to wrestle. She can wrestle.
Yeah. Should be a fun one.
Yeah. So we didn't really know. And then it was just like, hey, like there's these things called like body bar, which I don't know if it's still called body bar, but like that's a qualifier for a world team. That's freestyle. And then it's like, hey, there's this thing called Fargo too. So she really helped.
And you All-Americaned Fargo?
I did All-American at Fargo. The 1 year I went, I All-Americaned.
What would have been your, was your 8th grade, 9th grade year?
No, it was the summer going into my junior year.
Ah, okay.
Yep. Summer going into junior year. First year going was in the junior. It was a great experience.
And what was your wrestling experience like at Midland University?
So Midland, I wrestled there for 2 years, and first year it was actually our coach. He no longer, like after our season like just started, he wasn't able to continue to be our coach anymore. So we actually didn't really have a girls coach, and we started practicing with the boys, and that's just what we did. And we'd go to a couple tournaments, but not very many because we didn't have our own coach. So
interesting.
Yeah. So then after winter break, they brought in a coach, and he kind of took us to other places. And then my first like big tournament was down in Georgia at the Women's Nationals, and that was, it was rough. I got my butt kicked. And then we went to NAIA, and then I felt like I kind of started getting in my groove again, and All-American down there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, up there, actually.
Up there.
Jamestown.
I do that all the time.
Yeah. So All-American there, and yeah. Then the next season, I started to battle some injuries. And
what was your injuries?
I've
Knees?
had shoulders.
Shoulders?
Yeah. Shoulders. I've had 3 shoulder surgeries.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was before I got into college.
Too much clubbing. not the
no,
music clubbing.
the other way.
The 9-iron clubbing.
Yeah, my shoulders got cranked on quite a bit. So actually, going into after my junior year, and my shoulders started really bothering me, and I went to the doctor and found out that it wasn't just one shoulder, but it was both shoulders that had some pretty significant tears in my labrum. So I got bilateral shoulder surgery in my senior year.
Yeah, it sucks with injuries. It's like, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
But it's like, we always like hold it off as long as we can, and we end up doing a lot more damage to ourselves. So I just got over a broken ribs, and that wasn't a fun, and
oh, that sounds terrible.
Grappling, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, I do it every day, right? So like, there's the pressure, like it's that always in that little spot on your ribs. So yeah, so let's do this then. So let's pick your brain for some wisdom here. How do we prevent injuries? Yeah,
first of all, it's gonna be being aware of bad positioning and not getting yourself into these positions. Number one thing I preach to my girls is that I'm teaching you to do it this way because I don't want you to get hurt. That right there ultimately is like being aware of like, I'm telling you to do it this way because this way is going to protect you.
Sure.
Another thing is work on your stabilizer muscles, not just going on there and just like pumping iron, but like
right.
Let's do some like stabilizer exercises with bands and things like that, really working those supporting muscles. But yeah, my biggest thing is just being aware of what these positions get you in and what it does to your body.
Excellent. So another question here is nerves. So obviously wrestling creates a lot of pressure from both like people in the stands, your own emotional things, things going on in your life, to the competition itself. people that battle their nerves, what could you tell them to help them with some positive thinking, or how maybe you dealt with your nerves?
I took naps. I was
We're the same on that.
Yep. Yeah. I was the one wrestler that took a nap. Cause I just had to get away from it. You know, my nerves would eat me up so bad that I wouldn't be able to perform. So, I would wrestle my match and I would do my cool down, and then I would get something to eat, and I'd find a little hallway somewhere. I'd just lay my head on my mom, take a little snoozer. She'd wake me up. Hey, let's go get something to eat. Let's warm up a little bit. Go wrestle. Do it again.
Yeah. I would the nerves would be so bad it almost put me to sleep. It put me in a state of relaxation because I couldn't get any more nervous, you know. So I just okay, well, I'm not going to fight this thing anymore. I'm just going to lay down with it. And I didn't have to. So I missed that whole block of time of building up and waiting, because wrestling has a lot of hurry up and wait, especially in tournaments. You're there for a long time waiting before your next match. Yeah, especially if you're winning.
Yeah, no. So I had to completely remove myself. I didn't want to see my bracket. I didn't want to know who I had to wrestle. Nothing.
Right. So not everybody can take a nap though, right?
Yeah.
So what are some other ways that kids can gain some confidence so they're not, when they're having a little bit of that anxiousness before a competition, to kind of shake that off and step out on the mat?
I think the biggest thing is don't forget why we're doing this, and we're doing this to have fun. What I would do before I'd step out on the match is before I'd step out on the mat is I had to do so, and I had to do the big high five, and I would smile. Always smile. Smile, let loose. Major used to tell me, walk like a duck, don't give a...
Sounds like something Major would say.
Yeah, and you just go out there, have fun, be loose. Chad Tunick would tell us, go out there, score points, have fun. And that's the biggest thing is at the end of the day, it's not that big of a deal. Just go out there, wrestle, have fun. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're not having fun, why are we doing this?
Yeah. And the imagination is not allowed to release without fun. It's not when we were over on the south side, they're playing by weeks, playing in the woods. You're talking about the little wood line that was over there. When you play Army, right? You pick up a stick. We didn't have a lot of money to get the guns, so we got sticks. But man, when we were playing, it felt super real. We could hear the explosions. We could, act everything out because we were focused, and that focus requires fun. If we weren't having fun, it wouldn't have felt real. It would have been nothing.
No.
So another question here. How do you, what does it take to have or what would you encourage your team to develop a winning mindset?
Winning mindset.
Obviously, we can have fun. We can have fun, right? But
I want to win
too.
We
we want to win too, right? And we want to continue to get better. And each year we produce more winners until we get the Southeast Polk teams, right? Where we're winning all the time. We got good kids. We got a good program. We got a history.
Hard work.
Okay.
That's something that I really had to teach my girls. Still trying to teach them is hard work. Oh, I'm working hard. Are you actually working hard? Do you feel like you're actually pushing yourself? A lot of the girls that came out for wrestling, they've never done a sport before.
And they picked wrestling as their first one?
That's what I said too. I said, you know what? All right, let's go then.
At least they all know.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about this sport is that the work you put in gets recognized. Sure. It's not, your team is not stepping out on the mat with you. It's yourself. Yeah. So if you put in that hard work and you put in that time, you're going to see the results.
Yeah.
And seeing those direct results. And of course, your confidence too, of course. So when you start working hard and you start seeing progress, you're just oh, I can do this.
And I think a lot of wrestling mirrors the progress in the room mirrors progress in life as well.
100%. So
a part of life we experience sometimes is we reach this point where we just want to quit something. We're just we've had enough. If we don't feel like we're getting gains, we feel like it's only distracting us or keeping us down. How do you get out of that point when you feel like I've had enough of it, or I just don't think I want to come back and do this again.
Yeah, I think one thing in life that you talk about is like fulfillment. And my biggest thing is like I've dove into my faith significantly.
Yeah.
After this past season too, this past wrestling season, like I'm really in there with him, and I'm devoting my life to God right now. Well, always.
I want to go deeper into this. I mean, I think this is a major part of what I want to do in this podcast too, is open up these corridors where things are uncomfortable that people kind of like shelter behind. Not you, but other people sometimes don't want to speak about their faith or speak about the invisible truths. So I'd like to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, one thing I will say that my brother and I did talk when I was actually sharing with him about how you were open to the story. Oh, what story was it? It was a story when you were talking about Valley and you heard Tyler praying. Yeah.
That's true.
And I told Ethan about that, and Ethan's like, it's awesome for him to talk about his faith into this podcast. And I'm like, I don't believe that you can live your life for God without sharing it. Yeah. Because if you are living your life for him, it's who you are.
Yeah. And that's what God's calling upon his people right now is to be courageous and speak. Mm-hmm. You know, you can't have a revival of truth, because that's what we want is truth, right? Yeah. People are truth seekers. You know, they get scared behind the word of religion because that means it's a property. It's belonging to something, you know, and we've all seen religious organizations have, you know, bad things fall upon them, you know, and it distracts from the real message of the truth.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no. I think what it comes to is that we have to look at the word. We have to look at what God says and go off of that. We can't create our own narrative. It's like, is this what I'm wanting God to say to me, or is this what he's actually saying? And I think that's where some people get lost. So you have to come to giving yourself to him and, you know, asking him like, okay, if this doesn't feel right, like have a prayer with him. Ask him, is this right for me right now? Is this not right for me right now? You know, let him guide you to be the person that he created you to be. He put you in this position to do something. Right. What is it?
Everybody's afraid of that faith walk where you have to put your life in the hands and decisions of something much higher than yourself. Mm-hmm. And people were just afraid of that. Yeah. People were afraid to lose because a lot of people are controlling, you know.
Oh, 100%.
And they want to control their outcomes, and they want it to be all beautiful, but that's not the way it's designed.
No, it's not. Let's take the windy road, and everything he does is a meaning. He's with us always. Mm-hmm. So I believe he put me in this position for a reason. Yeah. Why did you put me here? Mm-hmm. I had a prayer before I came in here, and I asked him, and I'm like, you know, say something through me. Say what you want me to say, and I'm just going to let you guide me through this.
Yeah, I work with a lot of people, and I always do that before I go speak with them because I don't want to speak on my own accord. Mm-hmm. I have a lot of great experiences. I'm a storyteller. I can go for days, right? Yeah. I just had a lot of life experience, and but I always go into that asking God to you know, use me, you know, and let it be your words. So, and not only just for my sake, but for the sake that they can follow into the word and they can reread it and see that it's there.
Yeah. No, that you can go to the Bible and you can see all of these instances that will help you with everything and help guide you because he's the creator. He made you. He made me. We all have a purpose.
Yeah.
I've become so fulfilled in life when I've decided to really dive deep and fully give my life to God and let him do his work through me. And I have so much joy in life. I'm so much happier. So when it comes to those times where you're just like, hey, am I happy here? You know, take a second.
Yeah, that's how this whole podcast is existing right now because of that moment with Tyler, mm-hmm. you know, and it initiated that, and then, you know, just here we are.
Yeah, we're doing some great things.
And you know, when I talked to Coach Brown I told him I was doing this documentary and I was going to kind of be around Norwalk and putting Norwalk on the visual map, but I have an intention for it,
Mm-hmm. Oh,
so
yeah.
and I believe that there's a lot of good people here in this community. And I've just been so blessed to get to know more people in it.
Yeah.
Because that's how God's working right now. He's doing it, and it's pretty magnificent to be able to almost see the map. Like I got to poke at the map.
Yeah.
I got to look at the map before I started. So.
He says that, it's your community, build your community, go and share the word, find other people too, and be together and share the word together and, live our life together for him.
That's right.
Because there's a lot bigger picture than just right now.
Yeah. It goes beyond wrestling, right?
Yeah.
So, but, let me see here. Let me jump on one more question here. What is the most, and maybe that already answered it, what is the most valuable thing that you could take away from wrestling? I know that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah,
That's a open universe there.
Yeah.
And you can go anywhere you want with that. What's the most valuable thing that you can take away from wrestling?
Accountability. There's no excuses when you step on the mat. When you do something, it's the second where this is the sport that you're able to stand there and look in the mirror and what did I do? What did I do that I could have done better? It gives you something to be able to self-reflect. And I feel like to be able to grow at all, you have to be able to sit back and be like, all right, what did I do wrong?
Yeah. What
can I do to fix this? And that's the beauty of the sport of wrestling, is that it is on you and you are able to sit back and be like, all right, I have to change this in order to be better. Mm-hmm. If you want to be successful, if you want to,
Yeah. You got to want it.
Yeah.
And people can want it for you. Parents can want it for their kids, but I've learned that with my own kids, I can provide every resource possible because I've worked to get that. Yeah. I've worked to get those opportunities or to have the money to be able to send you to a camp or, I got a gym, I do have my own gym. You can go up there and train. There's every opportunity in the world, but he or she is the only person going to go out there and do it.
Yeah.
So I've already had my experience. I don't need to put my experience on them or my failures or successes or pressure of meeting up to my expectation or what I've done. It's just go out there and do your thing. Mm-hmm. Train, put the work in, hard work,
Yeah.
Go all in.
That's the best thing is that, if you really want it, you can go and get it.
Yeah.
All right. Are you waking up in the morning? Are you doing your runs?
Yeah.
Are you staying disciplined on your diet? Are you... It's all of that. It's all on you and nobody else. And that's the best part.
They can tell you, they can write you a list, but you're going to have to be the one checking it off.
Mm-hmm.
So one last thing I want to talk about, and you mentioned it earlier. I didn't want to cut off our conversation, but it kind of blends into what we were just leaving off with. Your brother, right? I haven't seen your brother, heard from him for a while, but I did see he's going on a mission trip.
Yeah, he just went to Abaco in the Bahamas, and they helped do some work from where the hurricane hit down there, and he said it was the greatest experience.
I bet.
Ever. He really got to meet some great people, and he's actually the one that got me really into my faith.
Good.
A lot deeper because he was in Iowa City, and up there they have Kairos for the college ministry. That's through Hope. And he's like, hey, I've been going to Kairos. Their home church is Hope. You should go. You should go. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to, because I grew up in a First Assembly of God. Mm-hmm. So I grew up religious and I feel like I didn't really I went to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't have my relationship that was very deep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you weren't ready for that, right? Yeah. That doesn't give us anything we can't handle.
Yeah. So now in this time of my life, I'm blessed that my brother shared that with me, and we're both really really digging into our faith right now, and we want to share the good word. We want to share him.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And the great part is that we are so fulfilled in life. I've never had so much joy. I have never been so happy, and the place where I'm at in my life right now is amazing. You know,
yeah, it is.
It's fantastic to see the change that you have within yourself when you devote yourself to God. And it's not only just devoting, but like going through the word and studying. Yeah. Because then you find out so much more.
There's the wisdom. There's a lot of the wisdom. There's, like you said, your motherly wisdom. Your father's got wisdom too.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I'm asking him where I'm going. What do you want me to do? Show me and help me.
He'll have that light. He'll have that light out ahead of you so you can see it coming. I'm sure of that. Mm-hmm. So it's good having you on here.
Yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate you coming in on short notice too, and I hope we can continue to connect and all whatever you need from me. You know, I got a lot of different skills. Just reach out. I'm here.
Great. Thank you so much for your support.
Appreciate you coming on the show, Alanah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.